What if I told you that the United States is not a superpower because of its military alone, but because it won the greatest lottery in human history, the lottery of geography? While other nations spend centuries fighting for every inch of their borders and bleeding their treasuries dry to defend against hostile neighbors, the United States sits in a geopolitical citadel. We are standing in February 2026, a time when global conflicts are tearing Eurasia and the Middle East apart. Yet the American mainland remains virtually unreachable and untouchable. This isn't just luck. It is a geographic masterclass provided by nature that turned a collection of 13 colonies into the most dominant force the world has ever seen. This is the story of the invisible border, the massive physical advantages that made America's rise not just possible but inevitable. Hello friends, welcome to Geo Unseen YouTube channel. Today we break down how geography made America a superpower and why its borders are its greatest weapon. To truly understand American power, you first have to look at the perfect neighborhood. In Europe or Asia, powerful empires are packed together like sardines, constantly clashing over resources and territory. But look at the map of North America. The United States is flanked by two of the world's largest moats, the Atlantic Ocean to the east and the Pacific Ocean to the west. These aren't just bodies of water. They are thousands of miles of logistical nightmares for any invading army. In the 2026 landscape of hypersonic missiles and advanced drones, having two oceans as a buffer remains the ultimate insurance policy. It means that while Russia or China have to worry about enemies on their doorsteps, the US has zero existential threats from its land neighbors. To the north, you have Canada, and to the south, Mexico, both of which are economically integrated and poses no military threat to Washington. This free security allowed the US to focus its wealth on building a global empire rather than just surviving in its own backyard. But the real secret weapon of American geography isn't what's outside, it's the water inside. The United States possesses the greater Mississippi Basin, which is, without exaggeration, the most valuable piece of real estate on the planet. This isn't just a river, it's a massive, interconnected network of navigable waterways that stretches across the heart of the continent. As of early 2026, this system supports a shipping industry worth over $400 billion. These rivers are the natural superhighways of the American heartland. Think about this. In most countries, moving goods from the interior to the coast requires expensive rail or truck transport. But in America, the rivers do the work for free. Transporting heavy grain or machinery via water is 10 to 30 times cheaper than moving it over land. This single geographic gift allowed the US to become an agricultural and industrial titan before it even had a standing army. Now, compare this to America's rivals in 2026. China has a massive coastline, but it is surrounded by a first island chain of nations like Japan, Taiwan, and the Philippines that can block its access to the open ocean at any time. Russia is a land giant, but most of its territory is frozen or lacks access to warm water ports, forcing it to fight constantly for influence in the Black Sea or the Baltics. The United States, however, has unrestricted access to both the Atlantic and the Pacific. This dual ocean accesses is the reason why the US Navy is the only force in human history that can maintain dominance in two halves of the world simultaneously. The year 2026 has proven that in a world of collapsing supply chains, the only real currency is food and fuel. And once again, America's geography has handed it the winning cards. While Europe and Asia struggle with energy shortages and skyrocketing wheat prices, the United States remains the world's hydrocarbon state and global breadbasket. This isn't just about hard work, it is about the sheer quality of the dirt beneath American feet. The US Midwest contains some of the deepest, most nutrient-rich topsoil on the planet, a gift from the last ice age that hasn't been matched anywhere else. As of February 2026, despite global market volatility, the US is still responsible for over 25% of the world's total food supply, all while having only 5% of its population. This agricultural fortresses means that while other superpowers can be starved into submission, America has enough arable land to feed its population many times over. But the real 2026 geopolitical shocker is America's transition from a hungry energy consumer to the world's dominant energy predator. The shale revolution wasn't just a temporary boom, it was a geographic reset. As we sit here in February 2026, the United States has officially solidified its position as a net exporter of energy, with LNG, liquefied natural gas, becoming Washington's most powerful diplomatic weapon. In January 2026 alone, the European Union sourced a staggering 60% of its imported LNG from the United States, up from just 24% 5 years ago. This means that American geography has effectively replaced Russian pipelines by controlling the shale basins in the Permian and the Appalachian. The US is no longer just defending trade routes, it is the source of the trade itself. The efficiency of this geographic advantage in 2026 is mind-blowing. Unlike the deep, expensive offshore rigs of the Middle East or Brazil, American shale is accessible and flexible. According to the latest February 2026 industry data, US shale production is expected to remain resilient even as global prices fluctuate, thanks to massive technological leaps in data-driven reservoir management. The US is now producing oil and gas at a scale that allows it to maintain energy independence while simultaneously using its surplus to dictate terms to both friends and rivals. This hydrocarbon hegemony is built on the fact that American energy doesn't have to cross hostile land borders to reach a port. It flows from inland basins directly to the Gulf Coast, where it can be shipped to any corner of the world. However, being a geographic superpower in 2026 isn't just about having resources. It's about the isolation advantage. While China spends billions to secure its Belt and Road land routes through unstable territories, America's resources are safely tucked away behind two oceans. The Midwest soil and the Permian's oil are in a secure internal ecosystem. This means that in a total global conflict, the US is the only superpower that can unplug from the rest of the world and still have enough food to eat and fuel to burn. This level of self-sufficiency is the ultimate geographic luxury, a luxury that makes America's influence not just a choice, but a physical reality that the rest of the world has to accept. Geography didn't just give America a seat at the table. In 2026, it made America the owner of the table itself. The year 2026 has brought a terrifying realization to the halls of power in Washington. The very geography that built the American empire is now becoming its greatest liability. While the oceans once acted as impenetrable shields, the rise of hypersonic warfare and cyberkinetic attacks has turned those thousands of miles of water into a blind zone. In the modern landscape of 2026, the invisible border is being breached not by ships, but by digital and suborbital threats that geography simply cannot stop. But more importantly, the physical land itself is beginning to fracture from within. The massive internal distance that once provided safety is now creating a deep cultural and economic divide between the resource-rich heartland and the hyper-connected coastal islands. One of the most critical issues we are facing as of February 2026 is the rapid decay of the Mississippi infrastructure. The locks and dams that allow for the $400 billion shipping industry are aging past their design limits. Internal reports from the Army Corps of Engineers suggest that a single major failure at a key point, like the Markland locks on the Ohio River, could freeze over $2.5 billion in agricultural and energy trade per single day. While the US government has spent trillions on projecting power overseas, the internal arteries of the American superpower are literally crumbling. In 2026, the risk of a logistical heart attack in the Midwest is higher than any foreign military threat. Furthermore, the melting Arctic is redrawing the map of North America in real time. By mid-2026, new shipping lanes are opening north of Canada, and for the first time in history, the US has a vulnerable northern border. Russia and China have already increased their presence in the Arctic Circle, effectively bypassing the Atlantic and Pacific moats. The backdoor to the American fortress is wide open, and the US Coast Guard is currently struggling to secure thousands of miles of newly navigable waters with an aging fleet of icebreakers. The isolation that provided free security for 2 centuries is officially dead. Finally, the cost of maintaining this geographic fortress is spiraling out of control. In 2026, extreme weather patterns driven by shifts in the jet stream are causing record-breaking droughts in the west and catastrophic flooding in the south. Make sure you hit that like button to support our deep dive analysis and subscribe Geo Unseen YouTube channel for more on the hidden forces shaping our world. We are uncovering the maps they don't want you to see. Stay sharp, stay informed, and we'll catch you in the next one. Peace from Geo Unseen.